Disney likes to run certain properties through the movie recycle machine every so often, and Peter Pan has now gotten yet another turn. But is it any different or just more of the same? What's up, Nerdgenic Nation? Disney nerd Aaron Waller here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on yet another adaptation of the Peter Pan story, but this time the latest Disney Plus release, Peter Pan and Wendy. And just like every other version of this story, Peter Pan and Wendy is based on the J.M. Barrie's novel Peter and Wendy that inspired the 1953 animated classic, which sees Wendy and her two younger brothers meeting Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and then traveling to the magical land of Neverland where they encounter the evil Captain Hook. Now, I personally have never been a big fan of Peter Pan. I like it enough, but I wouldn't say it's very high on my list of all-time best. That being said, however, this version did surprise me, and despite the synopsis being identical to just about every other adaptation thus far, there are some differences that I think give it just a slight edge. It manages to be much more diverse than past iterations. I think Hook was the only other adaptation that may have come close, but this one features both boys and girls in the Lost Boys, as well as having one with Down syndrome and even persons of color in the group, as well as Tinkerbell and Peter even being diverse. So it's very forward in that regard, and in my opinion, kind of refreshing. Then there's Captain Hook, who's played by Jude, and he actually surprised me in this role as I genuinely didn't give him much faith in the project to begin with, but it was actually really well done, and the story explores Hook in a lot more interesting dynamic than I think we've ever seen before, which actually felt quite needed for this story, not only to set this version apart from others, but also to add a lot more depth to the story, which it very much needed. And the back and forth between Hook and Peter had a lot more emotion to it once the story of Hook is revealed, which makes way for a whole new meaning to the story and lore of Peter, Hook, the Lost Boys, and Neverland in general. I just wish that it was explored more because they waste so much time going through the same old motions and story beats that we don't get enough time to develop or evolve the story beyond just doing it just to be different. And a character that I liked a lot more in this version was actually Tinkerbell. They didn't make her into the moody fairy that she was in the animated version, but this time around she's just more misunderstood. Which was nice to not see her feuding with Wendy for once, but the two actually bonding a bit despite her lack of screen time. Also, the music in this adaptation was great, as they adapted classic songs like You Can Fly to be much more emotional and swelling than the original. But for me, that's just about where the positives end. Maybe it's just because this is another adaptation of the same story we've seen a dozen times, but it felt like this movie was trying really hard to appeal to Disney fans who love Marvel, because the color palette and for the most part the movie as a whole is very bland. I mean, I was oftentimes finding it hard to watch and even pay attention because nothing was really grabbing my attention. Which, by the way, I recommend watching Peter Pan and Wendy at night or in a dark room because the lighting and palette are difficult to see most things even with HDR and max brightness. The movie itself even often feels like it just doesn't have life, despite it being a story about a boy who refuses to grow up and just wants to live his life. Even the enthusiasm of Peter Pan often feels lifeless when he's doing his signature call or just being a happy-go-lucky kid that he is. And I don't necessarily think that's the fault of the actor because I felt he was a fairly good Peter. Just the overall tone of the film was bland and it took away a lot of the joy and wonder we're supposed to feel in Neverland. Overall, Peter Pan and Wendy is a serviceable adaptation of the Disney classic. It won't blow you away by any means, but the story has just enough to it that if you stick through it, gives a bit more satisfaction, but nothing that will have you revisiting this version over any other. And for that reason, the grade that I'm going to give Peter Pan and Wendy is a 5 out of 10. Listen, nothing is really ever likely to beat the animated Disney movie when it comes to this title. In my opinion, there's just no way that any live-action adaptation can live up to it, no matter how hard they try to. But that's not to say that it doesn't explore some interesting storylines to add a lot more complexity and depth to the story that makes it one of the better adaptations to date. So those are my thoughts on Peter Pan and Wendy, and I want to hear from you in the Nerdgenic community. What did you think of this 2023 adaptation of Peter Pan? Do you like this version, or do you feel like it was just more of the same? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos from me or the rest of the Nerdgenic team. And also be sure to give us a follow across all social media platforms at Nerdgenic. That way you don't miss out on any special news, announcements, or articles at nerdgenic.com. But in the meantime, if you want even more video content from us, check out our latest video right over here, or for more awesome Disney related videos, check out this playlist right over here. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, we really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next video.